Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our Let's Talk series. We have a very important man with us here today, the Honorable Distinguished Dr. Richard Koffler, better known as the man in the hat. Correct? The man in the hat. This man is awesome. He's a good friend, but he's also very well versed in his understanding of health. He's an MD, he's a health coach, and he specializes in everything. He knows it all, both the Western approach as well as the naturopathic approach. Now, we are going to spend some time in the next couple of months looking at the pillars of health and just looking at what is true health, right? And trying to educate people in understanding how to improve their health and basically have a better life. So, Dr. Koffler, it's a pleasure to have you. The Let's
Thank
Talk
you.
series. And as we talk about the pillars of health, in your opinion, what is the most important pillar? Like, we have a lot of people saying it's 4 pillars. Some people say it's 6. Some people say it's 8. Some people say it's 10. There's a lot of confusion out there, right? So as we start this series, what do you think is the pillars of health, and what do you think is the most important one?
I think it depends on how you organize it, but there's really like three. One of them, the most important, mental health, can be broken down again into there's a social aspect. So some people like to say there's 4 pillars: mental, social, and let's say nutritional and exercise. But to me, social is part of mental. So to me, it's like basically there's really 3 pillars. There's first is the mental aspects, because at the end of the day, you can eat right and you can run and lift weights, but if your head's in the wrong place, it's going to undo all the work that you're doing. What you think is more important than even what you eat, what you do exercise-wise. All the studies show that the people that are the happiest live the longest. So there are people out there that might not be doing everything correctly in terms of how they're eating, and maybe they're smoking cigarettes, or they don't really exercise much. But they're happy and they're always laughing. That alone will extend your life. So that's one aspect. Like that mental aspect is the social aspect that goes with it, because the social aspect is part of the construct of maintaining your mental health. In other words, maintaining a large social base, being close with your family. If when you're alone, that's not good for your health. And all the studies show that people who are alone and people who are living alone, especially the elderly, they pass away faster because they have nobody around them. It's not because they pass away faster because they have nobody around them to take care of them physically. It's because they don't even have anybody to talk to, which studies have shown that if you're not talking and engaging socially, your brain will shrink just from that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to me, mental health is number one. And part of that is social health, but that's one of the components of mental health. So it's how you think, it's how you react to your environment, to your social situation. It's how you react to yourself. It's how you perceive yourself in this world. And to me, in general, that's the most important thing. We can go into the details of what makes what makes you a healthier person, like how to achieve happiness. What the person that's happy is the one who lives the longest. And to me, that's the end point. Because the idea is you're on this planet once. Most of those days should be spent happy. If you're spending all your
That's
days
interesting.
sad, what's the point of being here?
Well, I tell people a lot. I'm from Africa originally, and I've been fortunate. I've lived in 3 different societies. I've lived in Africa, I lived in Europe, and I've now living in America. And I think by far the happiest people I've met are in the villages in Africa. Years ago, I saw some study on CNN with Larry King, and they were like talking to people and looking all over the world to find the happiest people, right? We're here in America, we're in a Western culture. You've traveled, you're well educated. How would you rate the mental health in the Western society, primarily the US?
Oh, like you said before,
From
there
your
are absolutely,
experience.
yeah. From my experience, the people that keep life the simplest are people that tend to live in the present. And it's the people that live in the present that end up being the happiest, the ones that are living the day by day, instead of the people that are constantly, like in the Western world, worried about what they have and what they don't have. In the Western world, they're more about accumulating goods and services and material goods, thinking that that's going to lead to some kind of happiness. And that's how they've been conditioned to believe. Whereas in some of the places like where you were from in Nigeria, they are more alive in the present, and the present is important. So it's a completely different head in that sense. Americans are living for tomorrow all the time, and even on commercials, it's doing and saving for retirement. So you're not alive until retirement, then all of a sudden retirement starts and you're supposed to enjoy your life. That's like kind of weird. It's like you should be able to find happiness every day.
So how do you but this is just the way the society is here. It's all about commerce, right? And they're pushing people. What advice would you give somebody in the society? How can they find that balance with that mental health?
First of all, they have to totally analyze and remove themselves from those boundaries, those mental boundaries that of what this society considers success. It's not because people have seen it. All of a sudden they get that BMW that they've been pining for. And after you drive it for a while, it becomes your car. You're still in the same place with the same problems. It hasn't really changed anything. Yes, it turns the curve a little bit better. Yes, it has four-wheel drive and does the snow a little bit better, but that doesn't really change your life. That doesn't in itself make you happy. If you're in that car by yourself with no family around you, that's not going to make anybody happy. So I think that but you have to take a look at what happened, especially in the United States. I think more than even Europe, on what changed in this country in terms of happiness is supposed to be based on success, but that's just not true. There are people in this country that don't have a lot, but they're happy every day. And then there are people that have a lot and they're miserable. And they have millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and they're miserable. So the money they thought would make them happy, and they've been conditioned to believe that when you're successful financially, that you should be happy. It doesn't work that way. Instead, what happens is they become conditioned to always strive to be on the high side of financially, competence. And so what happens is they end up getting stuck in thinking about that all day, and then they get into that vicious cycle of needing more. So you see like millionaires and billionaires that continue to work very hard and charge a lot of money when they could stop working tomorrow, and they could give half of what they have away, and they'd still be fine. So the emphasis on this country was placed on the wrong thing. It was placed on obtaining that you can be considered successful, which and therefore be happy. But that success is measured through someone else's eyes, through the eyes of society, through the eyes of your friend. Oh, your friends see that you have a nice big house. Oh, your friends see that you have 2 new cars. So now they consider you successful. So now you're supposed to be happy because you fit in. That's that validation nonsense. It's just not healthy at all. So
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, to me, it's more striving for happiness. So how do you get there? You have to, first of all, recognize that this is going on. If you don't recognize it, there's nothing to fight because you're in it. You're not removing yourself from it mentally to examine it. And then there's tools, several tools you can use to reprogram yourself and to think differently. Whether it's meditation, Eckhart Tolle, or prayer, things to change your mental status and to get you to think differently about what your reason for being here is.
Right. So it all starts upstairs, basically. It starts with your mental health before you can even delve into the other pillars. So obviously we're going to get deeper and deeper into the mental health. We're going to develop courses and develop strategies for people to understand the mental health. And once somebody starts that process of getting their mental health together, what are the pillars do you see as part of that whole big picture?
When you look at Well, actually, when you look at the other pillars also, they tend to reinforce that. For example, exercise helps reduce stress and anxiety. So besides the health benefits of exercise, getting outside, for example, and having a walk in nature helps you to get out of your own head. When you're inside, you tend to be internal. When you go outside, you tend to be external. So going on a nice walk or a hike in nature helps to remove yourself from society, and it also gives you a different perspective. You hear birds tweeting, and you hear the leaves, crackling, and you start to think about being outside, and you think of the world outside and your place in it instead of the constant, hubbub, of TV and a work office place and what everybody else thinks and everybody's needs and wants at home. So I think it's important that exercise and exercise in nature is one of the ways that you can use, and one of the tools you can use to help change your mindset, because it's about changing your mindset, about reprogramming yourself.
Absolutely. I like the sound of that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate having you. We will talk a little bit more on the health, and the man in the hat has spoken. And until next time, we'll talk again very soon.
Thank you.